Welcome back to another episode of the Crag Chat Climbing Podcast. Today I have my guest Hannah Conti on. We're going to try to get through this episode. My camera is having malfunctioning errors. So we'll see how this goes, but let's hear a little bit about how Hannah got started climbing. How'd you get into climbing?
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I started climbing, I think it's going on 2 years now. I started July of 2022. Me and a group of friends decided that we were going to go to Ascend. I think some of them had climbed before, but this was my first time besides the rock wall at the sports center by the science center. So not experienced at all. I had never done bouldering. So that absolutely terrified me. Me and one of my other friends were like, we have to sign a waiver. We could die. That's crazy. But it was fine. I stuck to the rope climbing because like I said, I was terrified of the bouldering. I wasn't strong. I couldn't even do a pull-up, so I couldn't pull myself up on the climbs. And then getting down was a whole other story. I was terrified. But now I love Ascend and I love Iron City, and so I've been climbing. Back when we started, we went every single Wednesday night, and then we'd go to Condato's Tacos after. So it was a whole thing every Wednesday. We met up to go climbing. It's super fun climbing with other people because they're your biggest supporters, and you can all see what climbs you're working on. And yeah, now when I travel, I try to find climbing gyms. I've gone outdoor once. I would like to go again. It's just hard to find the time to take a weekend and go. But yeah, so I've just been trying to find the time to climb and go whenever I can. And I mainly climb at Iron City. I'll go to Ascend here and there, but I have the membership to Iron City, so I love it.
Yeah. So how did you decide where you were going to get a membership at?
I think Iron City was cheaper.
Nice.
And it was, actually it's not, I think Ascend is 3 minutes closer to me, but I just really liked Iron City, the community. When I first walked in, everyone was super welcoming, and that's something that's very important to me. I loved all the merch, and everything was super accessible. I liked the grading that they had, so nothing wrong with Ascend. I also love Ascend, but I was just drawn more towards Iron City.
Yeah, I feel similarly. There's just something about Iron City. I go to Ascend right now, but in a month or so, I'm gonna come back to Iron City. I just want to switch it up a little bit. But yeah, there's just something about here that feels, I like the openness of it.
Yes,
it feels
I think that's what it is too.
Very open, and the setting's super fun to me. Lots of different wall angles. We're really blessed in Pittsburgh. All 4 of the climbing gyms that we have here are insane, especially as someone coming from Ohio. I definitely know they're really good here. So, well, that's cool. So you said you started climbing with a group of friends. And that was about a year ago, 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
Is that still the same group of friends that you climb with now, or do you feel that climbing together has changed your relationship with them at all, or tell me a little bit about that?
I don't think so. We're all pretty much still friends. Everyone's schedules changed. Everyone went back to work, back to school, so it's really hard to find a time when we can all go, but we still are friends and try to climb together when possible. I know with 2 of them I did the Boulder League last year, and that was super fun. But like I said, everyone's so supportive, and yeah.
So for the Bouldering League, I'm really interested in that. So this is how I view Bouldering League. So this is one of those memes where it's convince me why I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
So Bouldering League, to me, it feels like you go climb all the same boulders that you would climb normally. Yeah. You're just paying money to do it. So
that's exactly what it is. I wanted the shirt.
You wanted the shirt. Okay.
I wanted the shirt, and I wanted to be able to tell people I'm in a climbing competition.
Okay.
And that's literally it.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Because I'm absolutely not putting it down by any means. I just that's my mindset approaching it. So I was curious what drew you towards it. So anyone that's out there trying to start a bouldering league, you need to have a shirt.
Yes.
And you need to advertise it as a comp.
Yes, exactly. I was I know I'm not going to win, so I'm not going to tell people when the competition is, but I'm going to tell people that I'm in a competition.
That you're in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so is the competitive aspect of it something that drives you in climbing in general, or?
I think sort of, but also I know there are people better than me. I'm not the best climber. So I knew going into it, I was like, I'm not going to win. But it's fine because, like I keep saying, everyone is still supportive. No one's like, I'm better than you. And it's fun watching those people like climb the higher grades. And it was just fun to be part of something and like know that other people are part of something, going to finals and meeting these people and watching them climb was super fun.
Yeah. Well, if I remember right, we met at the comp here, right? The Cooper's Cup. Is that where we initially met? I think
It
that's
might have been Cooper's.
I think that's where we initially like said hello in person.
Probably.
I don't know if we'd been following each other on Instagram before or after or what, but I think I remember you coming up to me afterwards and be like, yeah, I remember you from the Cooper's Cup.
Okay, yeah.
Well, cool. Okay, so you just graduated high school?
I graduated last June.
Okay, last June. So you've been out of high school for about a year now. One thing that I was talking to about with another high schooler here, she does high school online.
So did I.
And you did high school online as well. Okay, cool. How she was saying that she expressed that she felt like it was hard to find friends her age that climbed. Has that been a similar experience for you, or like what do high schoolers? I know you're been out of it for a year now, but like what do people your age like think about climbing? Like, do they think it's cool? Do they think like, yeah?
I think they think it's cool. I'm also a photographer, and so I know a lot of other photographers that climb. There's not a lot of people my age though. My best friend Shai, she's the one who I climb with 90% of the time. I have a friend I have some friends in college, and they climb. So I think that's kind of true. I don't know a ton of high schoolers that climb, or at least that come to this climbing gym, but I don't think it would be hard to make friends. I know I talked to Sydney, right?
Yeah.
I talked to her, and so we kind of connected, and like I followed her on Instagram, but I just think there's not like that age group doesn't come to the gym that often, or I don't see them that often. But I still have friends like in my friend group that are in high school or college that I climb with.
Yeah. For me, so like from my perspective is I'm 28. So like from my perspective, I think that anyone in that age group, a lot of people that are in that age group, they're team kids. Like they do climb, but they're doing it like as a competitive sport rather than just more of like a social thing, like in the same way you would like, I don't know, be on a basketball team or be on a running team or anything.
Exactly.
One thing I'm interested in is like, one thing about climbing that drew me to it is that it is like a sport where you participate in it all together, but you also only participate like again, like it is an individual sport if you want it to be. How do you view that? Like, do you enjoy climbing by yourself more? Do you enjoy climbing with people more? Like, what is it about climbing that keeps you doing it? Can you pinpoint it?
I think the social aspect, I love going with my friends, just like being there to encourage each other, and like sometimes I think I can't do a climb and my friend's like, no, you can do a climb. Like she believes in me more than I believe in myself, and that's what happens with half the other people that I meet at the gym. They believe in you, and so I'm like, well, if there's people watching, I guess I have to do it. I've definitely gotten more comfortable climbing alone, but it's not my favorite thing. But like I used to be absolutely terrified. I wouldn't come to the gym alone. But now I've found like it's okay to make connections with other people and nobody's watching you. Like my fear was, oh, I'm gonna fall off this climb and everybody around me is gonna see me fall. And that's not the case. If they are watching, they're there to support you and help you and give you tips on the route.
Yeah, and also like if you're not falling, that means you're just climbing something that's easy for you. Yeah. Or I don't know, maybe you're struggling. But well, that's cool. Do you think you'll continue climbing for, I guess, what do you feel, how do you feel about the future of your climbing? Like, do you think you'll continue to do it for a long time?
I think so. I would like to, so I'm gonna say yes. It's definitely hard to find time in the busy season of wedding photography, and traveling so much, but it's also pretty expensive. But I'm trying to come as often as possible, even if I'm not climbing, using the gym, using the yoga room for recording podcasts. And I love, like, they have fun drinks and snacks, so I still try to get myself here as much as possible, especially being in Lawrenceville. Like, I can work at a coffee shop, and then once the coffee shop closes, come here to climb. So just giving myself, like, trying to make the time to come here as much as possible.
Do you live in Lawrenceville?
I don't, but I'm like 15 minutes from here.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so you talked about photography. You said that you got started. Plug for Hannah's podcast. I was just on it. I was just on an episode of it. So go listen to it.
Yes.
She'll talk a little bit more. She has a whole episode about how she got started in photography. So I will let you listen to that over on her podcast. But one of the things was you got started with your photography business when you were 14. And it was just because you loved taking photos and you kept taking photos, you got into it, and now you like have grown this whole client base and it's sweet. My question is with that, like you're currently doing weddings and engagements and things like that. Do you have any plans to like transfer into the climbing space? Like would you want to do climbing photography? Would you want to do that type of thing?
I would love to. I've taken photos of my friends climbing, and I would love to do like climbing couple sessions. So if anyone out there wants to climbing couple session, let me know. I don't think I would ever do it professionally. Like I definitely want to stick to weddings, but also in my free time, I would love to take more photos at the gym. I just need to like bring my camera and not be scared of like pulling my camera out at the gym.
Yeah, is that a fear for you?
Yes, but I don't know why. Like I just need to do it.
I can relate to that. I used to be really self-conscious about filming in public, and you're totally right. You just need to do it. You just gotta rip the Band-Aid off. It sucks so bad, but you just like the more you do it, the more you're just like, oh, people don't care. Or if they do care, they're like, it's in such a positive way.
They want the photos.
They're like, oh, what are you filming? What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I need to have that mindset because right now it's like, oh, they're gonna think, what's this girl doing with this big camera?
Right.
But like that's not it. They're gonna be supportive. They're gonna want like I can take photos of them climbing, and that's what people want. Good photos of them climbing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. It's so funny because I've been running court climbs for 3.5 years, and I don't have barely any photos of myself because
okay, well we can fix
I'm
that.
always behind the camera. Hey, yeah, okay, sweet. There you go. There's your.
Okay, perfect.
Sweet. So you talked about climbing. You're primarily a gym climber. You said. You traveled to Alaska recently to shoot a wedding.
Yes.
Climbed at a gym in Alaska. How was that?
It was amazing. It was the biggest climbing gym I've ever been to.
Okay.
We walked in super nice. I mean, the staff there was so nice. They had like, I don't even know how tall the walls were, but they were so tall, taller than Ascend. It was insane. With all like rope and belay climbs, and then a whole separate gym on the first floor, and then you went upstairs and it was like all boulders.
Oh wow.
And there was, I'm gonna try to describe it, like the whole outer part of the top floor was covered in rock wall, and then there was like space to walk in the middle, so kind of like here at Iron City, and then just like a huge thing in the middle. So everywhere was just bouldering. It was amazing. We almost got our belay license. We didn't, but that was like an option there.
Yeah.
It was so fun. We met other people in Alaska from the wedding. We took them there. They loved it. There was a super cool restaurant nearby. If a common theme is there, when there's food near the gym, I love it. So yeah, we went to get food after, and it was amazing. It was an amazing community.
Yeah, that sounds super epic. Alaska is on my bucket list of places to go. Like I really want to go. I know you're going. I know you're going back in July. Are you gonna go climb when you go in July?
I hope we can outdoor climb. We were gonna try to outdoor climb when I went in September, but it had gotten too cold and snowy already that the roads were closed. So now I'm like, July, they can't close the roads because it's summer, and so I'm hoping to go. They have like certain places for it, but there's also just like side of the highway climbing.
Okay.
And like that would be epic.
Yeah. So, is it bouldering? Is it?
Yeah, bouldering.
Okay, bouldering.
I think you can do rope, I think, but I'm not sure. We would probably do bouldering.
Yeah. Well, you don't. Do you know how to lead then?
No.
Or yeah. So it would be, unless it's a top rope only crag out there, it would be.
Exactly.
Like, so would you rent crash pads at that gym then?
I think my friend that I'm gonna be staying with, either she or like her family have crash pads, so we'll figure that out when we get up there.
She lives up there?
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
It is. It's
That's
amazing.
awesome. What I mean, Alaska is gorgeous from what I've seen.
Yes.
The last time you went up, besides the climbing gym, what was like one of the most memorable highlights about being in Alaska?
Honestly, my friend's wedding. So I was her photographer, but I'm also very close friends with her and her husband, and most of the people that were in the bridal party, and just meeting so many people that like they had come in for the wedding. All their friends and family were so amazing, and they just had like the best wedding ever. And then the day following that, they had like a big bonfire and party for everyone to meet each other. So that was super fun.
Yeah, that's epic. Man, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on booking. That's your first destination wedding, correct?
That was my second one in Alaska. My first one was last January. So that's how I kind of like got in the Alaska circle.
That's sweet. Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably not a ton of people up there.
Exactly.
You're like the Alaska wedding photographer.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm like, I need to get my page ranking 1 on Google for Alaska photographer.
Okay, I like it. I respect that.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was one of the trips that you've taken recently. I also saw you took a trip to Cooper's. You said that was the only outdoor climbing you've done so far?
Yes, that was my first trip outdoor climbing.
Yeah, how did that go?
It was amazing. I knew that it was going to be harder than indoor. I didn't know how much harder it was going to be, but it was really fun. I mean, like completely different than indoor. I don't even know how to describe it, but so we rented the crash pads from here at Iron City. I went up with my best friend Shai and my Aunt Lauren, and we just camped for the weekend. We all love camping. We love just hanging out. So like we made a bonfire, got up early, went and did climbs. I found someone on Instagram. You might have even sent him to me or something.
Ray?
I know I asked. Yes, Ray Climbs.
So there, like for people who don't know, Ray Climbs. If you need any information on Cooper's Rock, like he's got it. He's put up a lot of the routes down there, and obviously there's a billion people that have put up routes down there. It's not like he's just the only one, but he happens to be the one that I know.
Yes, so he was super helpful, and he sent me like the app to find trails and stuff. So we did that. We found a bunch of climbs. I met someone, I forget his name, I'm so sorry, but he climbed here at Iron City, and he had like the bouldering league shirt on, and so we were like, oh, we're from Pittsburgh too. So that was cool. It like the climbing community is literally
the bouldering
everywhere.
league shirt.
Yes.
If he hadn't have had that shirt from bouldering league,
exactly,
you gotta have t-shirts for bouldering league.
You have to have a t-shirt or people won't join. I like the new shirts for this summer's Boulder League.
I haven't seen them. Cool. I need to go look at them.
They're like black, yellow. I don't know. It's like black and yellow, so it's cool.
Yeah, that's it, because it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Cool. So you said that the difference between indoor and outdoor was very different. The difference was different.
Yes, very different.
What were some of the like highlights of that climbing experience as far as the actual climbing?
It felt so rewarding when we finished a climb. Like even though on the app it's like this is a V0 if that, I'm like no, in my book that was a V8. So I'm telling everyone I've climbed a V8. Just like being able to reach the top after struggling and thinking you're gonna fall, but once you're on the wall, even though there's a crash pad, you don't want to fall because you're like, I could break an arm if I jump down from here. So it's kind of terrifying, and obviously like my friend and aunt were also terrified, or like if my friend was up on the wall, I'm terrified that she's gonna fall and get hurt, and we're in the middle of the woods with no service, but also like we know what we're getting into, we're experienced with climbing. I think a big thing with it, whether you're outdoor or indoor climbing, is even if you think you can't keep going, you can. It's just your brain telling you can't, but your body physically can get you up there if you think it's life-threatening. So like once you're up on the wall and you're like, I'm going to die, you will make it up the wall, whether you think you can or not.
Yeah, like if the only block is mental, you can do it, for sure.
Exactly. And I think that's mostly what it was. I mean, part of it was like I literally can't pull myself up this wall, but most of it is a mental block.
Yeah. So I'm curious, indoors you started on ropes because you felt like that was less scary. I'm assuming outdoors you went bouldering because you don't know how to lead climb?
Yes.
So moving into the future, is that something you'd be interested in? Or I guess what's your mindset around the future of your climbing? Like when I talk to you next year, a year from now, what do you hope to have achieved in your climbing or?
Ooh. I would love to get a belay license and learn how to belay and like top rope and all that stuff. I don't really have a preference of what we do outside because I've never done rope, so I don't know what that's like. I mean, I really enjoyed bouldering, but I've only done it once, so like I said, I want to keep going. I don't know what the switch was when I was terrified of bouldering to now I prefer bouldering. I literally couldn't tell you when or why that switch happened, but it just did. I think I just want to keep staying consistent, and I noticed when we were going every week, sometimes multiple times a week, that's when I was growing, and like I could see the progress in the grades, and so like I was slowly going up to like V4 or V5 or like attempting a V6, and then when I stop for a few weeks or a few months when work gets super busy, I like see the decline in progress, but that makes me want to go even more and like work harder at it.
Yeah. So I can really relate to that. We both have really busy work schedules. Yeah. When you're doing photography, are you doing, besides like Alaska, are a lot of your shoots around the Pittsburgh area, or are you traveling more? And how do you balance that with climbing? Is it, I'm sure it's difficult, but like, have you found that balance? Are you still kind of figuring it out?
I think I'm still trying to figure it out. I have a lot of work in the Pittsburgh area, and so especially if I have like a city session or anywhere within 30 minutes of the climbing gym, if it's like an early, now it's harder because the sun is setting later, so sessions are later, but in the winter specifically, if I had a session at like 4 p.m., my routine would be I'm going to shoot, and then I'll go to the climbing gym, and like I can work here. I'm perfectly fine with setting up and working here because it's all like remote work, so I can just back up my photos, I can edit here, I can do emails here, I can work here, even if I'm not climbing. Like I'll go on the treadmill and answer emails or create content. I'm a big multitasker.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it. So sometimes I am traveling, and that makes it harder to make time to go to the climbing gym, especially if I have to leave like an hour beforehand for my session and it's an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the city. So that's definitely harder. But when I'm traveling, if I can find the time and like transportation to a climbing gym, that's nice. So when I went to Chicago, I think it was 2 years ago, and me and my friend found a climbing gym. And so that was super fun. And I love finding other gyms in like new cities and seeing what's the same, seeing what's different. So yeah, I'm still working on the balance, but sometimes I think I have balance.
That's a great way to put it. Sometimes I think I have balance.
Yeah.
Realistically, even if you do find a balance, it will only be sometimes. Mm-hmm. That's just how life goes.
Yeah.
As much as people like to preach that they all have their lives together, no one has their life together.
Exactly.
Genuinely. Okay, so one last thing that I'm like curious about. So you create content, and you also climb.
Yes.
I think you've been climbing for 2 years too. So like you're right in that sweet spot where like you're not super new, but also like you haven't been doing it for years and years. What types of climbing related content do you like watching, and like what do you watch climbing content at all, or like what's your take on that? What would you what if there was something that you'd like to see in the space, like what would it be?
Oh, I like that question.
And I know this is a like off the cuff question, so if you don't have an answer, that's totally fine.
I do enjoy watching climbing content. I love like short form videos, reels and stuff that I can watch on the go. This is so funny, but I know people are gonna relate because all my friends say the same thing. When I watch climbing reels or TikTok specifically, my hands get really, really sweaty.
Really?
Yes, like it's uncomfortable, and so I have to be like prepared to watch the climbing reels. So that's kind of disgusting. But
is it because you're nervous for the people climbing, or like do you know why?
No, I have no idea why. If anyone knows, please let me know.
When you climb, do you use quite a bit of chalk?
Yes. Like I'm completely covered in chalk by the end of a climbing session.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. I spend a lot of money on chalk.
Okay.
So I don't know why that happens, but that's kind of like why if I see a climbing video, but I'm like doing so, I don't even know how to describe this. Like it's a full thing that goes on in my head, but if I see a climbing video, sometimes I have to skip past it because I'm like, I can't get sweaty hands right now. This is so embarrassing. I don't know why I'm talking about this.
That's really funny though.
So yeah, but I love like the climbing video you made with Sid climbing all the V3s. That was super fun to watch because I'm familiar with the gym. Like I had been there recently, so I knew all the climbs that you were doing, seeing the techniques, the like Cleveland gym recommendations you made is super interesting because like if I'm ever in Cleveland, I need to know what gym to go to. I think so. Yeah, I love challenges. I think technique videos on climbing I would enjoy, but I don't really watch them because I'm like I can figure it out myself. I would rather figure it out in person and not just watch. I'm a visual learner and I can't just hear it and then go do it. So I need to see someone doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have watched a lot of technique videos, and I feel like this is absolutely no offense to anyone that makes technique videos. Like, you're doing a great job. But, like, I put technique videos on with the best of intentions. Like, oh, I'm going to really, like, learn something. Yeah. But it's always, like, while I'm doing another task, so I'm never, like, focused on it.
Exactly.
And then if I sit there and try to focus on, like, a technique video, I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch something else.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would just get bored of it.
Yeah, which is totally on me. So, but no, that's interesting, the climbing gyms and then the challenges. Mm-hmm. Yeah, challenges are like a very interesting space because I feel like there's some inherent challenge in climbing itself. Like, normally, it's like, the one thing that was interesting to me is like, do people like watching projecting? Like, I watched a video that this creator, her like username's Grace Doing Things.
Okay.
And then in parentheses it says mostly climbing.
I love it.
And I watched a video, it was like a 20-30 minute video of just her projecting the same climb, and she was falling off at the same spot every time. But it drew you in because you're like watching, you're like, oh, this time maybe she'll get past it. And then she'd get one more move, and you'd be like, yeah, you're like rooting for her, you know? So, yeah, it's just kind of interesting. I feel like climbing and creating content around it is such like a broad spectrum of things that you can do. I mean, I'm sure you feel similar with wedding photography, like wedding photography.
Yes.
You know, like there's so like,
what do you mean wedding photography?
Yeah, there's so many different styles and types and that.
I think specifically with like video form content, creating stuff for climbing, it has to be like very well edited to keep my attention, especially nowadays people have a very short attention span, and if it's not like very interesting or pulling me in, I'm probably gonna click off of it, or being able to put something on in the background. So like if I'm getting ready for my day, watching a challenging video or like the challenges in the climbing gym, that's interesting because I don't have to pay super close attention to it. I'm not learning a technique, but it also doesn't matter if like I miss a few minutes of it.
Yeah, for sure. So what in the future, like as far as outdoor climbing, are there any spaces that you would be really excited about visiting? I know you said Alaska, but like, if you had to go somewhere to climb, where would you be excited? Or even a gym that you want to visit?
Yosemite would be amazing. I am going to Joshua Tree for work, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to climb, but if I do, I would love to try and climb there. And obviously Alaska. I think I'm going back to Chicago again for work, but like if I find the time, I would love to go back to the gym because it was super cool. Honestly, anywhere. I just want to get outdoors more, especially this summer. It's hard to find the time, but I'm determined to make the time.
Yeah, I think somewhere along the way we talked about if you want to make something priority, you can make it a priority.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, thanks so much for being on.
Of course.
Tell people all about where they can find you on your socials and such.
Yes, so my podcast just launched the day we're filming this. Podcast Reply All on Instagram and Reply All on Spotify and Apple. And then everything else is Hannah Conti Photography. My personal, if you want my personal, it's linked like in my photography page, but I'd rather you go to my photography page. And like my website, everything is Hannah Conti Photography. So yeah, come say hi and I'll do my best to, I also answer every DM. So.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll also challenge that as well.
Okay.
We're just both going to be getting
so
many DMs. Sweet.
Like,
well,
this was really hard to answer.
Oh man, this is so hard to answer. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to everyone for listening, and please do go check out my episode on the Reply All podcast. It was really fun.
It was super good.
So, sweet. All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.